So, a couple of you have been telling me that all this lab stuff is confusing you. The biggest thing is I'm actually not grading you very harshly on this first one. I just kind of want to see how all of you do to get a better idea of how much about lab information you actually know how to do. But I'm going to run you through it anyways. So, first one is if I open up the mini lab sheet, right? Waiting for it to load. So this is my mini lab planning sheet, and what I'm going to do is there are 4 different questions that I can choose from. Say that I wanted to test out, and let's see, for me, I'm just going to do how does the body adjust to changes in physical activity level? Oops, question mark. And then from there, I would need to figure out the independent variable. Okay, the independent variable is the thing that I'm changing purposely. Okay, so I'm changing, and then so physical, the independent, struggling to spell, variable is the physical activity level because I'm changing the level of physical activity. The dependent variable is the thing that is forcing the change because I'm changing the independent variable. So as I am changing the physical activity level, what's then going to happen is my body is going to be forced to adjust. So the way I would measure this, okay, because you have to measure it, you can't just say the body, my dependent variable is the body changing. What about my body is changing? So with physical activity, my heart rate per minute change. So I would measure how much my body changes based off of my heart rate per minute. My constant variables would be timer, person doing activity, and whatever the physical activity is. I would change the level of physical activity, but I would not change the physical activity. For instance, if I'm doing jumping jacks, right, I would consistently do jumping jacks, but I would say I'm doing jumping jacks for different amounts of times. So my hypothesis, okay, I claim that as I change the level of physical activity, my heart rate per minute would, let's say, increase, and then because da 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 da. And then here's where I can explain what I know about homeostasis and anything else. Okay, what do I need? I need a timer. I need a person. I need space. And pretty much it. Yeah. So there's my materials. And then my procedure would be, okay, pick an activity. Okay. And then from there is start jumping jacks for 1 minute. Okay. Take heart rate for 1 minute. Do other trials of jumping jacks. You get to decide. Maybe what I want is to do it for 1 minute, and then 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes to see how my heart rate will change over time. And I always want to do multiple trials. Do at least 3 trials because there's a lot of human error that comes to play. So that is how you do your mini lab planning sheet. Now let's talk about the actual lab report. So I'm going to run with this idea of the jumping jacks. So I'm just gonna run with that, because that way I don't need to redo everything. So describe the process that a living thing goes through to respond a change in the feedback loop. Okay, the feedback loop, for those of you who might have missed it or don't remember, it's in our notes. So your body has something called a feedback loop. Homeostasis is the state of being stable and balanced and in equilibrium. And what we're saying is that as we do different things, our body responds to that change. So what my body would be responding to if I'm doing this lab is it would be responding to the physical activity. So as I scroll down from the slides from last Tuesday, okay, here we go. Feedback loop right here, number 37. This is the process of the feedback loop. So there's a receptor, there's a control effector, a control center, and effector. So on here, I would be using that information to apply it to my lab, trying to be as detailed as possible and explain all the different things. So here's the introduction, here's the methods, and then the conclusion, what you think the conclusion would be. So if you notice, there's nowhere on here where you're actually like taking down the material. You will test it out. Sorry, where's methods? You will test it out to get an idea, but I'm not making you take down the data. The data is just to help you get to your conclusion. Okay? So what you're doing is you are taking the information from the slides of this week and you're trying to apply it the best way possible of doing this experiment. And then for the actual experimentation part, it can be something very small. You just want a small range of data right now, just so that you can write your conclusion. Okay, this is just a mini lab. It's not supposed to be a huge, full-blown lab report. Just something small so that we can get an idea of how we even do labs.